And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Styrian Grand Prix debrief. Today, I'm joined with the lovely Steph and Charlotte, and we're going to be doing a live stream with you guys all about the Styrian Grand Prix. We're going to round it up. We're going to be asking you guys some questions and things like that. We've already had some amazing questions, so thank you guys so far. Should we just start straight away with the questions?
Yeah,
hang on, I haven't heard twice. I've got the female. I'm just going to turn that off. We don't want to hear that twice. So anyway, should we start with some questions? Because I think at the end of the day, the questions we're getting are the things we're going to be talking about anyway. So the first question, which I'm sorry, girls, we are going to have to bring up is the Russell-Williams curse going to break? We know that George Russell was running P8 after the Leclerc and Gasly incident. So he was up to P8. We're thinking, right, oh my God, points in the Williams. And then he has an engine issue. Is this going to carry on? Are we going to have the same thing every time he's in the points? Like, what can we do to break this?
All right, do you know what? Do you remember when I said Williams is not going to get any points this year? I think I placed a curse. I placed a curse over George Russell's head. I'm sorry, George. I can't say anything more. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I didn't think it would end like this.
It's your fault.
Yeah, Steph, it's all down to you, mate.
Nah, he's had right. So the thing is with George, do you want to know why this one was so heartbreaking? It's because any other time that he's had the opportunity to get points, he's then kind of ruined it from driver error, or the Mercedes one was obviously Mercedes error. But kind of when he's been in the points, it's all been, okay, he's crashed out under the safety car. Okay, he's crashed into Valtteri Bottas. Okay, like he was really bad on the restart in Mugello, blah, blah, blah. So it's always been his fault. Whereas this one, it was the same heartbreak that everyone felt insecure, and it was just purely because it was not his fault. And even though the Williams is a better car this year than it was last year, I think it is. It's got much better, especially one lap pace. But regardless, there's Steph, move your mouse.
Your mouse is on Charlotte, and I was like, Steph, move your mouse.
Sorry, we'll move it. I can't even remember what I was saying. Just talking about how heartbroken I really am for George Russell, and it's because it just wasn't his fault, and so therefore it's Williams' fault, and they cursed him. That's the point.
I think as soon as I heard the plan B because of reliability, I was like, no, this is not going to end well. I was like, this is going to end up with him being either at the back or retiring. And I think it's just so sad because he was actually up there on merit. Like, he really was up there on merit. I know he got into the top 10 because of Yuki's grid penalty, but like, he was in P8 because of merit. So I think it's just really sad. Hopefully it will break the curse someday, but I just don't see it happening this season. So poor George. I just feel so bad for him every single time.
We want these points in the Williams. Even though we're all very confident he's going to Mercedes next year, we still want the points from the Williams. We're not getting it. So hopefully this weekend he can pick it up a little bit. Moving on to another question, which is a hot topic between all of us and the whole of the F1 community, to be honest with you. And it's, should Charles deserve a penalty? And was he really the driver of the day? Now, we know he had that first lap incident with Pierre Gasly, which meant that Pierre Gasly got a suspension damage and a broken wheel, and he had to retire. I think he also incidentally then made Pierre hit Latifi and Giovinazzi as well. So it was a whole string of effects. You know, a lot of drivers got into this. So did Charles really deserve that driver of the day? And also, apparently it was actually investigated, but nothing happened. I don't even think we even saw that. But apparently Michael Massey was like, no, it's fine. Do you agree?
I don't know. I do think that he shouldn't have got driver of the day, because if you look at Carlos didn't cause an incident. P12 to P6, drove really well. I think if you took the first lap incident away, then yes, Charles would have got driver of the day, because he did some really good like overtakes and everything to get back up there. But the incident was his fault. So in my mind, he was not driver of the day, because he caused an incident and caused the car to retire, caused the car to pit because they had damage from that car retiring. So I wouldn't have given him driver of the day.
Would you like to say anything?
Yeah, actually, I would. And I feel like that because there was contact with Pierre twice on the first lap. The first time, racing incident, but the second time is where the issue kind of occurred, because he definitely came over. Do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Brazil 2019 when Seb moved over and ended up, and both of the cars ended up retiring because they both picked up damage, even though Seb clearly was the one who moved over. The problem I have with Charles Leclerc being driver of the day is that Max Verstappen gets driver of the day when he does not deserve it. And then when he puts in a stellar performance, and you genuinely should not be able to dispute whether he should be driver of the day, he doesn't get it. And I'm like, okay, but he was the only person, I feel like, throughout that entire weekend who was just perfect from start to finish. Like, he didn't make any mistakes. He did not buckle under the pressure. He was consistent and he was right up there. I think Max honestly performed at such a high level. Honestly, I don't know where were all the Max Simps at? Where were they? Because I know they were not voting Charles driver of the day. So
they were
who were you voting for?
They were at the racetrack. They didn't have the phone out. They had no signals.
True. Makes sense.
But yeah, I agree. I think, not just saying that because I'm a Pierre Gasly fan, but I feel like he definitely pulled over to try and get the slipstream, and he misjudged. And he also done it with Kimi later in the race as well.
Yes.
And he tripped some of Kimi's end plates. So Charles Leclerc had no he'd done a Mick Schumacher from F2 where Mick used to just cut across people all the time, like Robin Silverstone, just cut across them. And Charles was doing that. And here it says, is Charles Leclerc on Kira's Xmas card list? Well, at the moment, he's in the maybe pile, but I think he could be redeemed because, Pierre wasn't too angry after, and straight after Charles on the radio was like, it was a great race, but also I feel really bad. So I think he kind of understands, but I'm not too sure. Here's another one, which is actually a really quite a funny one. Do prayer candles on Twitter curse drivers? Because sometimes they really work. And we know Sophie really actually does some that really work, but then I feel like she's been doing too many. And now they're starting to reverse themselves. And I get worried to do them because I know if I would do it, I would definitely curse someone. So are they cursed?
I feel like this weekend, Sophie did a good Yuki qualifying prayer circle candle thing.
Yes, she did.
Circle. Yeah. And he did have a good qualifying
before he then... one that was really bad, though. What was it?
I can't remember. There's so many. But
shout
out to Sophie. If you want prayer candles, go follow Sophie on Twitter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they do curse drivers. Facts.
People have done them for so long that now, if they ever did have a effect, it's just worn off. Like, it's just giving them bad vibes, not good vibes. No one ever put George Russell in a prayer candle ever again.
Yes. I'm pretty sure that was what Sophie's was. I don't want to bet on it, but I think it was something like that.
I think Sophie actually tweeted George Russell's in the points 2 minutes before he went into the pits, and then it was just like, oh.
She needs to stop. She needs to stop.
Oh.
That's why you just zip it. I've learned that. I've done it with Pascal Verlaine one too many times. Here's a question from Marcel. He says, not Marcel Kiefer, sorry guys. This is a question from Marcel. And he says, how much better is Verstappen going to be considered? He has at least 10 more years in F1. So basically in 10 years time, how are we going to look back and reflect on Max Verstappen? And I guess that kind of is dependent on what he does in the next 10 years. But if we were to look back at him right now, say he just doesn't do anything anymore, what would you think?
I mean, I feel like if in 10 years time he's doing as well as Lewis, if not better, then we can look at him the way that we look at Lewis. But imagine he wins a season this year and then doesn't win it ever again, it's kind of like you can't really be considered a GOAT, but then also you can be respected for how well you were in them years that you were driving. That's my sort of view. I don't think if you only win once and then not again, but carry on for 10 years and you still win nothing, that's sort of like, yikes.
Steph?
I don't think we'll ever see Max how we see Lewis, and it's just purely because, I'm going to do a video on this, but wow, I've just baited myself out to everyone who's watching. Stay tuned on the channel when I finally get some content out. Anyway, no, point.
Go back to your point.
My point is that there are so many young drivers who are so talented, and the whole point of the regulations is to make everything so much more equal, that I don't think Max will have the opportunity to beat Lewis's records. I just think they will remain unbeatable. And I know everyone said that after Michael Schumacher came and won his 7, but it's so much different in this era. So yeah, I don't know. I still think we'll look back on this season, even if we have no more good races and Max Verstappen goes on to dominate everything. Maybe not. But I still think we'll look back on 2021 and be like, okay, this was an iconic season for Formula One, 2 absolute legends in the game fighting against each other. I don't see how we can dispute that. I think that we'll always look back on this with fondness, and I don't think this is going to be the end of Max's competitiveness. I still think we'll see years to come where he is competitive, where he is able to fight for a championship. But there are just so many good young drivers right now that it's like, will Verstappen be able to, you know, get up there and get multiple world championships? I don't even see him like Seb. Seb's got 4 championships. Like, how did he manage that? Still blows my mind. But I don't even think we'll see Max getting that many, just because it's going to be so competitive and the field is going to be so full of these incredible drivers who are coming straight up the ranks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just like a timing thing, whereas Max might be there now, but it depends on how many then young drivers come up and what teams bring themselves back up, whether Ferrari come back up and we, you know, see Mick Schumacher as a world champion in the next couple of years. We just don't know what we're going to see. Another question that a couple of people are asking are about Alonso and Alpine and Ocon. Obviously, we know that Ocon started the season really strong and was dominating Fernando Alonso, to be completely honest with you. However, Ocon's pace the last couple of weeks has really dropped off quite significantly, and we've seen obviously the more experienced Fernando Alonso bringing it back up and getting the points for Alpine. What do you think is really going to happen in this battle? Is it going to switch back around? Do you think Esteban can find his pace again? Because I think at the start of the year we were seeing that Esteban that we remembered from the Force India days, whereas in the last couple of races it's just slipped again, and Alonso has really brought himself back up. So what do you think is going to happen with that? Do you think Ocon's going to come back up, or is this the end?
Is this the end?
Dramatic.
Man's like 25.
Sorry, Esteban.
I feel like it's going to be a bit of a pendulum between the drivers. Like, there's going to be some where Esteban comes back, and there's going to be some where Fernando Alonso will like, you're a 2-time champion, where are you? So I feel like it's going to go in swings and roundabouts. I've been saying it's swings in roundabouts for years, and the saying is swings and roundabouts. But yeah, I didn't know that. I thought it was swings and roundabouts. But anyway,
is this like an up north thing or something?
Anyway, it's swings and it's swings and roundabouts.
Yes, swings.
Anyway, it's going to go back and forth between. Yeah, it's going to go back and forth between them.
Yeah, I think it's going to do that very similar. Obviously, Ocon was outperforming Alonso, and I was like, oh, okay, give him credit. You know, I'm not really a big Ocon fan. I was like, all right, Tina, yeah, he's doing all right. Do you know what I mean? And then he signed his new contract, and it's like he's gone back to sleep. He's like performed really well to get that contract, and as soon as he got it, he's like, all right, I'm back to not performing very well. But I think the way that Alonso's been performing the last couple of weeks has been really well, and I think it's just going to be a battle between them. Like Steph said, one track like Spa might suit Esteban more than it does Alonso. So yeah, I think it will be going back and forth.
Because I know that Alpine are now not developing their car anymore for this year, and I don't know how many developments they've done so far this year, but maybe they've got to a point in development where they're stopping, but at this point it's favouring Fernando than Esteban. Maybe at the start of the year it was favouring Esteban more. We just don't exactly know, and I'm not in Alpine, none of us are in Alpine, we don't know what they're doing, but that's kind of the gist of what the team are doing so far. So Tinas is not happy, we're not talking about it. Esteban,
what we will talk about while we're talking about Alpine is the fact that Guan Yu Zhou is going to be doing FP1 this weekend. Alpine are going to use one of their juniors.
Would you ever, honestly? And with his bestie from UNI in Carolina as well, who is doing it for Alfa Romeo. So I'm really excited. What do we think about that? Let's just talk about that for a minute, because obviously we know we've had this debate so many times on this channel about Alpine not utilising their young drivers. We know that Guan Yu Zhou has been in F2 now for 3 years. That's what I was trying to say. And we've been waiting for this for a long time, haven't we, really? So is this now going to be his time to prove his worth, or do you think it's too late?
I just think it's too late. I mean, yeah, I'm so happy that he's doing FP1, but we all know what Alpine are like. They don't give their juniors any opportunity. So have him to actually get an FP1 session's a bit out of the ordinary. But I really hope that he smashes it and he actually gets to show that he's like worth the time. So yeah,
brand new doing FP1 for 3 years. Oh, who that team is in, honestly.
I'm happy for. He's at the top of the F2 Championship right now, isn't he? He's right up there. So yeah, he's doing a good job. Keira, I was coming to you for this information because you should know it.
Probably. I've not watched F3. It feels like
he's up at the top anyway. Somewhere around about the top. He's been doing pretty well. So if Alpine didn't give him a shot, then it would just be like, okay, why? Because he's at the top of the champion. I don't know what more you would want from a junior. So the fact that they're giving him the opportunity is cool, but man's still not going to be sat in that seat next year, is he? Because they've filled them both already.
Yeah. Very unfortunate. Gwen Yu Zhou, if it was up to me, I'd sign you, but I don't have a team. Anyway, moving on to another question, which I think is actually a very good one, is what if the team domination era ends in the new technical regulations? And what if we see like new champions every week? No, every year we see new winners every week. Every week, that would be weird. We could switch, you know, we could have new champions every week. That would be also very cool. So I guess it's kind of adapting a Formula E style in the way that they switch around all the time. Could you see that happening in Formula One, or do you think it's just going to take one team that's going to rule these regulations regardless of the budget caps?
That's really interesting.
I know. So
I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I think we're still going to probably have the domination, especially for a couple of years going into the regulations, just because they do say it's going to take a couple of years to kind of settle into it, as they've said. So maybe, I think there's new regs coming in 2025, I want to say. I think they're more engine regs.
New engine regs, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's 2026,
so maybe
actually.
It might be, yeah, might be one of them. So I think I would love to see swapping and turning, and I think it's going to be closer, but I definitely still think you're going to get the top pack and you're going to get the mid pack. Like, I don't think that's going to change really. I don't think we're ever going to see the Formula E style that you're going to see. We might see more of an F2 style or an F3 style, you know, when they've got a solid amount of people fighting for wins, but also you've got them back markers that are kind of always back markers. So maybe we might get that kind of style coming to Formula One, which I wouldn't be mad about at all. Yeah, it's a difficult one. We're just not going to know, because we don't know anything about these new regs, really. Like, we're not going to know what they're actually going to be like when they're on track.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the biggest problem, and I've talked about this briefly time and time again, it's the fact that junior teams or sister teams, whatever you want to call them, are still always going to be second rate to whatever the big team is. So there's no way that, even if Haas survive and happen to be in Formula One in 2025, there's no way that they're ever going to be competing with Ferrari, because they just won't. And there's no way that AlphaTauri is going to be winning the championship over Red Bull. It's just not going to happen. So I think that that's a big problem. That's how we know that it definitely won't be completely equal throughout the whole field, because there will be these teams who are unable to compete with the top guys. And that's just life. But I do hope that we'll have like a more competitive top field. So we used to have kind of Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes. I mean, when it was kind of only Ferrari and Mercedes really competing for a championship. I mean, Red Bull could compete for wins, but not really long term for the championship. Whereas if Red Bull can stay up there, Ferrari can get back up there. Mercedes have already started developing like 300 years ago for these new regulations, so they'll be ready. If McLaren can get up there, and who else? Aston Martin. I mean, I believe in Aston Martin for the new regulations. Not so much this year. I've not made my skepticism of Aston Martin a secret. But if they can get up there, you know, we could have some like really, really interesting battles. I don't want to be going into weekends being like, okay, it's going to be a Hamverbot podium. I think it's going to be so much more unpredictable, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be completely competitive throughout the entire field. You know, there's still going to be them drivers who are right at the bottom. Like Mazepin is still not going to be able to drag whatever car he's driving, even if it is a points contention car. He's not going to consistently be in the points, is he? So.
Probably not, no, because he's just not got the driving ability, unfortunately, Mazepin. Another thing I want to pick up on, which was, I don't actually know whether any of you girls did watch, so I feel like Charlotte did. Don't know if you did, Steph. Was it W Series? Now we know that. Did you? Oh, very good.
I did.
Talk about it then. You've watched the first weekend. Will you carry on this weekend? Who knows?
Are they back again this
Series.
weekend?
Yeah, and F3. We have got a mega weekend.
Oh no, that's too stressful.
My schedules are going to be so busy. I can't cope.
Oh yeah, guys, we've got W Series again. What did we think of the first race? Because obviously I loved 2019 for a start, but it was very much, you know, feeding into it, feeling the season, and it was really nice. They followed DTM through that year, whereas now they're a feeder series to Formula One, which is amazing. So great to see these girls up there. They've got all the Formula One graphics as well with that little W Series twist. What did we think about the race, and what do you think about the race weekend format, you know, in a whole? How do you feel about the new teams that they've got? That was very late. They literally announced it like a day before. I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. What do we think? Oh, did we enjoy it? Are you excited for the rest of it?
Yeah, I wasn't really like properly paying attention, but from what I was watching, it was all right. I was packing, so it was on in the background. But I just like, there's like so many. One thing I picked up was like, I know this is not even to do with racing, but the colours of the cars. I was like, what is going on? Like, we're so used to blues, and there's like a yellow and a green and a purple, and I was like, oh my god, like my eyes. it's so bright. But yeah, I'm hopefully this week I can probably watch it, because I feel like I will actually get into it if I fully sit down and watch it. But just the fact that there was like the podium, obviously Alice won, and then there was someone from the LGBT community on there as well. That's really cool. So yeah, I think I'll definitely watch it properly this week, and then hopefully I'll get into it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Do you know what? I thought I was a bit skeptical. I was like, okay, I'm not really sure how this is going to go. And I am a bit of a W Series skeptic sometimes. I do love what it stands for and I love what it does, but I also really feel like it sometimes can feed into the narrative that women can't compete with men because there is a whole different series. But I understand why it's there, to give the females the opportunity. So I'm not beefing it whatsoever. But I did think that they actually did really good. I was really upset when Jamie actually got taken out by Jess Hawkins. That really upset me.
Yeah, I know. I was like, Jess, for goodness sake, I was rooting for you.
Yeah, I love the team situation. I was like, Scuderia X? That sounds so mysterious. I was like, okay, I might support you. I might become a fan of you. But I really enjoyed it. The one thing I would say that really kind of irked me a little bit is that all of the other Formula One support series are also broadcasts on Sky. And the reason, I know that they put it on Channel 4 to make it accessible, but it would be great if they could potentially share those rights, because if you've just come from a Formula One qualifying session, I know that I'll just leave Sky on in the background while I then like go make food or go do this or go do that. And then if F2 is coming on after, I'll automatically hear, the F2 going, and I'll be like, oh, time for F2. Whereas if somebody else ended up doing that and they didn't know that you have to swap to W Series, it can then result in a lot of people turning off. And I just think that if you've got this Sky package and you're like invested in Formula One, you have to shove W Series down the throats of people. They don't want to have, people are lazy. They do not want to have to switch a channel, and they can't always remember that you have to switch a channel to be able to go on to watch something else. So I don't know. That was just the one thing that I think, oh, maybe you could share broadcasting duties between Channel 4 and Sky to make sure that people who are watching the Sky broadcast do not then miss out on W Series. Yeah. Also, that it's like basically ramming it down the throats of motorsport fans already who don't want to go out and search for it. You're just giving it to them on a plate.
Yeah, I get what you mean, but I think obviously it all depends on whether Sky even wanted to buy this series. You never know whether they approached Sky and Sky said no, and obviously they want to make sure they're as accessible as possible. They're a series that will push for accessibility, so they need to make sure that they are showing that. I think a big thing was I felt like the weekend was a little bit unprepared. I feel like we were finding out last minute whether practice was streaming, whether qualify was streaming, and it's great that it was on YouTube, and it was great that we could then just switch to more for the race. But I feel like we need a little bit more time and warning. And I think even the team situation, I don't know how long before that was and like going to be a thing. But I think to announce that a day before you're going on track isn't going to help anybody learn. Because if I would have known that a week before, I would have learned who was in what team. I would have learned the liveries, just so I had a little bit more of an idea of what's going on. Because I think it's great for a start, because W Series 2 years ago, when you just saw everybody in the same livery, then swapping liveries every weekend, oh my god, it's so confusing. Whereas I love this now because I'm like, yes, Marta Garcia in the lovely yellow Puma, and I learn people from there. It's beautiful, isn't it? And you learn that. So I feel like hopefully now we know we can. I don't know if it's a one-off. I still don't really understand the team thing, so please do let me know. But it was a little bit messy for the first weekend. I feel like they could have been a little bit more prepared. And also, what do you guys think about, obviously I don't think it's going to happen this year, but what do you think next year about W Series doing 2 races in the weekend? Because I feel like the Friday's great, Saturday's cool, but then I feel like, it's over. Like I want another race on the Sunday.
Charlotte.
Did you?
I was like, do you have another race? And she was like, no. And I was like, wait, what? I need more. I was like, you can't, because Formula 2 and Formula 3 have 3 races in a weekend. Why can we not get at least 2 for W Series? I mean, the 3 races is a lot for me. I don't love it. But like 2 races, I think it would be great if we had like a sprint race, feature race format type thing. Because I liked the 30 minutes plus 1 lap thing, but I would also like it to be I'd like I would like there to have been a race that is a certain amount of laps as well, kind of like we have with Formula 2 and Formula 3.
Yeah, I feel like because it also the race is on a Saturday as well, it kind of like there is time on the Sunday. Like we didn't have F1 and the broadcast goes out at 12:30. We didn't actually have a race till 2, so they could have easily fit in at about 10, 11. And I think that just was like, oh, there's not another one, that's it. And like you said, Keira, I don't think there was enough promotion of it on Twitter. Like people were coming to us and we were like, where's the stream? And we were like, we don't know. And then we found the stream and we were the people, like telling people. So I do think that sort of needs to be like amped up. Like you need to put out where it is, you need to put out the times and like how people can watch it. But I think once that gets in motion, I think more people will start watching it because they will know where it is, they will know what time. But yeah, I definitely agree. I think there should be 2 races, because if we can have 2 races of F2 and bloody 3 races from F2 and F3, why can't W Series get another one on the Sunday when no one else is racing?
I really hope they can. I mean, I don't know the logistics of, funding or whatever it is for that. And obviously it's their second season, so we can give them a bit of time. But hopefully next year they come back with double headers, as we like in the weekend, because that would be very, very good. I think we'll switch over. We've not really got too many questions about the race weekend. Should we talk about Sochi now, or should we talk about Daniel Ricciardo? I think we'll talk about Daniel Ricciardo. We'll come back to the Sochi layout. Firstly, his thoughts on Daniel Ricciardo's performance compared to the other new seaters. Now, we will give a little bit of a slack this weekend because he did have a power unit issue where he was on low power. So he made himself up to P8. Lovely job. Back down to 13th. And then from there, he just couldn't really get anybody. I don't know if he said he wasn't nursing an issue to the end. He said that they fixed it within the race. So he then lost the pace, but then couldn't build it back up again. What do you think about his performance at the weekend?
I think obviously the Friday was really positive. He was doing really well, had pace. And then on the Saturday just was like out on Q2, P13. And I was like, okay, I don't want to say this is normal now because I hate that, but recently that has been the norm for Daniel Ricciardo. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Not fine, but come on. And then in the race, obviously he gained five spaces in literally the first opening laps. So I thought, yes, come on. And then obviously he had the issue with his engine. So I thought maybe he was nursing that on the Saturday as well. I think I'm just trying to put 2 and 2 together. And then I was just like, oh my God, what's happening? But I think if you look back at the race, he did get stuck in sort of a DRS train and there was loads of other cars there. But then I look at someone like Charles, who was literally pitted and was like half a track behind, and he still managed to get into P7. So I don't know. It's really frustrating for me because I have the highs of watching Lando do so well in the McLaren, and I have the lows of watching Daniel not be up to par. And I don't think I can keep saying that he needs to get used to the car anymore. Like he's had 8 races. Like he said he wanted to go into this triple header and really like firm his place in that car. And France, I thought, yeah, he's doing that. And then we go to Styrian and it's like he's literally gone steps backwards. So I think this week he really needs to pull something out of the bag and just forget that this weekend never happens and just be as confident as he was in France. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, he'll get a good result. But I'm really stressed about him right now.
Yeah. The whole thing is just, it's upsetting as well because nobody wants to see Daniel Ricciardo trundling around in P15. Like, that's not, I didn't sign up for this. I was like, no, he's in a McLaren. He should be trundling around in the points. So I think we're all disappointed. And I think no one's obviously more disappointed than he is with his own pace and how it's working for him. I did see on Twitter an interesting comparison between him and Lando as to how they exit the corners. And
wasn't it
I think it was between... I can't remember. It might have been because he's a good stats guy. But just basically comparing, and Lando, I think it was maybe, I can't remember, between turn 3 and 4, there's a DRS zone there, and Lando could get up to like to gear, the 8th gear, and Daniel Ricciardo, because of how he like exits the corner, was not able to get all the way up to 8th. So he's definitely not maximizing the amount that he can on the straights. And I think that was really interesting to see the comparison between the two of them, because I think they have really different driving styles. And I think the biggest thing with Danny Rick at the minute is that his driving style does not really match how the McLaren drives. Whereas Lando's had 2 years, he's in his 3rd year, he's like familiar with it, he's adapted his driving style to suit that McLaren. Whereas Daniel Ricciardo is kind of struggling a little bit with that. So I don't know what the solution is. I can only continue to support and hope that he'll manage to turn it around in the upcoming races.
Yeah, and just coming back when the people are saying, when do you think he's going to pick up the pace? I think it's going to take time, but I think McLaren have got the time to give him. That's why they've signed him for a long time. Even though he's struggling now, I would still want to give him time because we all know it's Daniel Ricciardo and we would all give him time. So don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm confident that he will pick it up and him and Lando will be up there. But I completely agree. I mean, even look at Lando in his first year. He was really struggling. He was like, why can't I do this with Carlos? Like, why am I not up there? But now look at it. It's the same way around. So I give him a year, maybe. I don't want to say give him a year. Like, I don't think he's going to have bad performance between now and the year mark that I might give him, but I think for him to be fully comfortable, he's going to need to go into next year, which is absolutely fine because that's the development you need as a driver, whether you are Daniel's age or whether you are Yuki's age. So that's that. I guess talking about Yuki, can Tsunoda put it back? Because some people have been unimpressed with him this season. Obviously, we know Red Bull is very cutthroat. We've got Yuri and Liam and even Jehan kind of coming up the ranks, looking at that seat in AlphaTauri. Do you think Yuki can hold on to that for next year, or is he making too many mistakes? Because as we know, the last couple of races he's been quite good, but we just don't know how it's going to go. Like, is he going to carry on? Is he going to crash? What do you think?
I've been disappointed with Yuki. But I think I said this in the last live stream as well. He's too hot-headed right now. He reminds me of a young Max Verstappen in that he's just going into everything and crashing everywhere, and he can't calm down. And I think once he does calm down, he'll be very similar to Verstappen in that he's got that pace and he'll be that aggressive driver. I think they're really similar.
Yeah.
But right now, it's just not working for him. And I hope that Red Bull can see that it's going well. I think he did talk about him having a... Why can't I speak today? He did talk about having a conversation with Helmut Marko where he was like, you need to bring the points home. But I think that Red Bull is happy. I think he got, what was it, P10 in this race? I do think he finished in the points.
Yeah, P10.
Yeah, P10. So yeah, I think he's doing an admirable job. Jeez, I can't get my words out today. But also being compared to a teammate like Pierre Gasly, who is performing at the absolute top of his game, is very difficult as well. It's like almost being compared to Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. He's almost a Sergio Perez right now. So I don't know. I'm going to give Yuki some time. I just need him to calm down, please.
Yeah.
I think obviously after the first weekend when he got points, I was like, oh my God, yes. Like, we've seen how quickly he adapts. He was F4, F3, F2, and now he's in F1. It's literally been 4 years and he's already in F1. So I think, yeah, he's just still, I feel like if we're going to say this for Daniel, who's a experienced driver, we can say it for Yuki as well. He still needs time to sort of settle in. I do really hope he does better, but when you just look at F2 and you just look at the Red Bull Academy drivers who they've got Yuri Vips, they've got Liam Lawson, they've got Jehan, they've got people that could really come up and take that seat. So I do think the pressure is kind of on Yuki, but I do think he should still have time to try and better his game. And I think once he has calmed down a little bit, and hopefully after the summer break he calms down and he's as good as we know he can be.
Yeah, I mean, we all want to say give him some time, but is Helmut going to give him the time that he needs? We just don't know. So that's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm sure Red Bull will make a decision. I would say soon, but they'll make the decision and we'll know about it. So let's see. We've got a very weird question here, which I'm going to give an answer to. Thoughts on Russell to McLaren and Norris to Mercedes for one season to get George up to speed with the front of the grid? Don't really see why George needs to have time to get to the front of the grid. I think he's been used to being at the front of the grid for his whole career. I don't think that he needs any time. I think him jumping into that Mercedes last year proved that he didn't need any time. He's well ready. He's about 2 years ready already. I think 1 year in that Williams was absolutely fine, but he's done more, so doesn't need any more time. That'd be very weird, very unfair to Lando Norris as well, who would have that taste of victory. So no, the answer, and I think everyone's agreed by their body language.
I just don't understand. Why would you take Lando out of a car he knows so well and just be like, oh yeah, you can have a Mercedes for a year, but then you'll be going back to this? Like, what's the incentive to get to know that? That doesn't make any sense. Sorry. 10 out of 10 will not happen.
Yeah, sorry. Very weird question, but thank you for it anyway. Let's go back to the race results, and obviously the last ones of current time, from going from street tracks to obviously France and Austria. Adam has asked, are the results due to the 2022 regs as Merc aren't upgrading their car and falling behind Red Bull? Now, this is a big thing because Toto Wolff openly came out and he has said, we are not upgrading this car anymore this year. And obviously Red Bull are still upgrading it. So in effect, is it going to be a case of Mercedes will lose this championship this year, but then next year they'll be a step ahead of the game as they kind of were, 10 years ago or so? Do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think that, see, Toto could either be telling the complete truth or he could be like telling a little porky, because
I
I
hope
think,
he is.
yeah, because I think after this start of the season and like how Red Bull have won 4 in a row now, and like Merck are not able to catch them. Like, I get that Lewis can't catch them, but like Perez is catching Bottas every race, or beating Bottas nearly every race. So I think they will lose the constructors. Whether Lewis wins it for the drivers, I'm not too sure. But I do think if they're not upgrading this year, next year they're just going to smash it out the park, because they've put all their resources and all their time in this new car. Like, why wouldn't they do well next year?
I just don't know why there's not room for extra upgrades this year. Like, it's Mercedes at the end of the day. I don't really see why you can't do both. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like there's a couple of tweaks here and there. I think Lewis said he doesn't know whether it's the rear wing or whether it's something else. But like, if you get to the point where I would think Mercedes would want to win this. They don't want to ruin their streak. They don't want to let someone beat them regardless whether they had a streak or not. So I don't see why they can't put a little thing into it. And I don't know whether it's going to get to the point where Lewis, and maybe even Valtteri, but definitely Lewis is going to put his foot down and say, look, you need to actually help me and upgrade this car. I can't do this by myself. Because I have a feeling from his interviews that's kind of might be the way he's going with, you're going to need to upgrade this car. We can't leave it.
I don't know. Part of me, because development was frozen a little bit between 2020 and 2021. So I wonder if they've almost used all the, because I know that McLaren had to use tokens to change their chassis to be able to fit the Mercedes engine.
Yeah.
So it's whether they've used their tokens or not. We're not the experts in technical regulations, unfortunately. But it always could be something like that. I mean, the way I see it, Mercedes, they came into Formula 1 in 2010. They started winning in 2014 when the new regulations came in. So they put their focus on the new regulations, and they were leaps and bounds ahead of everyone. The first time that they got a challenge from an outsider was Ferrari in 2017, and they couldn't keep that challenge up. So that's 3 years after the regulations came in. If Mercedes have done this exact same thing, started preparing early, then that's 3 years before they're going to get another competitor that's similar. And I think that that's what's so good about Mercedes. It's because it's a risk and reward thing. You can sacrifice 1 year if it means you're going to get 3-4 more years of dominance, or you can be ahead of the game for everyone else when it comes to the new regulations. So I'm not mad, Mercedes. I also would like it to be competitive next year. So if you could not get too much of a head start, that would be lovely.
Yes, please reel it back in a little bit. And I guess going off from that, it's there's another question here that says, are Red Bull using too many resources this season, which might jeopardise their 2022 developments? Again, this is something that we don't know, because I don't think Christian's really said how the development's going for next year, has he? So I don't know whether they're putting those into this year or not into next year. Red Bull do that a lot. I think sometimes they focus on the now, and they've always said Mercedes is 6 months ahead of us. Do you think that's the situation now?
I did a podcast this morning for work, and the guy that I was recording it did say that Max has said somewhere that they get sort of a new upgrade or a better part of a car for nearly each race. I think they literally do it not it won't be they're gonna for Austria they'll have a new front wing, do you know what I mean? But it's they do little tweaks that help them, because what they've realized the week before they then do that. So I feel like Red Bull are putting a lot into this season. I feel that they definitely want to win this season. They've had enough of Mercedes, but is that therefore then going to go into the cost cap, or they're not using this time to develop next year's car? Toto came out and said next year's car is a whole new concept. That's a whole new car, new everything. So I feel like Red Bull might be on the back foot a little bit if they are upgrading it as much as we think they are.
Yeah, we just don't know how it's going to go, do we? I hope, again, as we've said, we hope Mercedes don't develop too much, and we hope Red Bull develop more than they are, from what we can kind of judge. We're going to take our last couple of questions before we end this. Next one is from Imogen, who said, where do you think Bottas will end up in the drivers' standings by the end? Because we know Lando Norris has jumped him again. He's back up to 4th. Really, why is Valtteri? Why are you that far behind? Where are you going to end up? Are you going to come up? I reckon he's probably going to end up being 4th, and then Red Bull are going to get their constructors. But is Lando Norris going to keep ahead? Because Lando's on fire, and I can't see it ending anytime soon.
Yeah, 4th. I think that Mercedes is better than the McLaren, and I know Lando has been on fire, but on over the whole season, I think that Bottas will be able to claw it back, just because he will end up with the odd podium. I feel like we could end up seeing, Verham check No.
Check.
Being the new podium, and we could see Bottas kind of falling off, but he will be able to snatch the odd podium like he did this weekend, because there was not 72 laps and Checo did not get him at the very end, but he very well could have. So I did say this in my predictions. I did say that that Sergio Perez would beat Valtteri Bottas, and you all laughed at me. You FSeries, remember when we did that? Why can't Red Bull win? And I was like,
Yes.
Checo will win, and you were like, no, Bottas will have him. Well, Checo is having him for breakfast.
Well,
lunch,
we just thought
right
Bottas would be better than this. I don't think we ever thought Checo would be worse than this. We just thought Bottas would be better, and this man's not moving.
Incorrect
Whether it's because of the George
expectations.
Russell thing, we don't know. Anyway, we are back in Austria this weekend. Exactly the same thing as last weekend. However, we have got FIA F3 to join the mix. So I want some bold predictions from you girls about what you think is going to happen this weekend in any category. You know, we don't just have to stick to Formula One, or if you want to do one for each series, what do we think is going to happen this weekend?
I don't know, Steph, you can go first.
Mercedes are going to do. They're going to grow up and do a two-stop strategy this race.
Okay.
I think that we will see a McLaren up there again. Obviously, we saw Lando qualify P3. I know Daniel didn't really do well, but hopefully he'll do better this week. But I think McLaren will still be the best of the rest. I don't really know for W Series, so I'm not going to make a prediction. And for F3, there's just going to be chaos, because there's always chaos.
Oh, honestly, I love F3 around Austria. So good. Reminds me of last year when we kicked it off there. Amazing. Really excited, actually, for F3. I want to see Archie Leclerc bring it back up, because obviously he had a hard start of the season. Then it got better in France. So hopefully he can just qualify this weekend, okay? Archie just qualify. But I'm really excited to see what anybody can do. Really excited for Victor Martins and Kyle Collette again to show their worth. W Series, I just think is going to pop off again. I hope it's as chaotic as normal. I hope Jamie does not get punted again by Jess. I hope Jess learns her breaking points. I'm really excited for Belen Garcia, because she was really on fire this weekend but didn't quite make it to the podium. So there's so many things that we can see happen in W Series. I'm very, very excited. And Formula One, I do want Mercedes to come back up, just because now I'm worrying that we're going to not get a title battle the other way around. So I would quite like them to actually do something. But there we have it. That is it for our live stream today. I hope everybody did enjoy. Thank you so much for all of your questions and for joining us tonight. If you did enjoy the live stream, please like and subscribe. We'll be doing these throughout the whole year. So if there's an exciting race, expect to see us on a Monday night. Yes. Thank you again for watching, everybody. And we will see you again soon for F Series Friday, which is this Friday at 6 p.m. BST. Bye, everyone.